Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis, and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble, and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903.
As a constitutional law attorney, former senior legal advisor, and personal counsel to President Donald J. Trump, Jenna Ellis believes in the rule of law and the importance of integrity in our elections. And she's ready to tackle the big cultural and legal issues facing America. This is the Jenna Ellis Show. Here is your host, Jenna Ellis.
Happy Thursday, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Jenna Ellis Show. Make sure that you are subscribed on our Rumble channel. That subscription base is growing. You can subscribe for free at Rumble, YouTube, and anywhere that you stream audio podcasts. And make sure also that you are going to my store from Mike Lindell, where he has the new My Coffee. I am so excited. They sent me a bag of the coffee to try. I love it. It is the Patriotic Blend, and if you use promo code Jenna, you get 25% off, and you get to support great entrepreneurs that Mike Lindell is elevating, and he is helping to promote at mystore.com. Use promo code Jenna for anything that you want for deep discounts on My Store products. And definitely click on the entrepreneur stories on there. Mike joined the show earlier this week. If you didn't get to watch that episode, and he described why he started My Store and investing in the American dream and entrepreneurs. And I just love it. And I love his heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. And he's such a really great friend and great person. So excited for My Coffee. I've been really excited to tell you all about that because I knew about this a couple months ago, but finally got to roll it out with Mike Lindell. So that's really exciting. Go to mystore.com. All right, so lots to discuss today, and Project Veritas will be joining me in just a few moments to give me an update on the latest with their lawsuit against CNN. But of course, the biggest headline today is that Joe Biden contracted COVID. He tested positive for the virus. Of course, he's been going around and not social distancing, not wearing masks, doing nothing that, the Democrats have been trying to force on our children in public schools. And he is also fully vaccinated, boosted, everything else. And he's also turning 80. And yet it seems like the Democrats have absolutely no issues and no concerns that he tested positive for COVID. But remember, just a couple of years ago, when President Trump tested positive, it was nonstop wall-to-wall coverage about how completely, inappropriate and reckless and all of this stuff that he was, because he's putting the presidency and the country on the line, and we need minute-by-minute health updates. And now we can just casually get a comment from the press secretary that, hey, Joe Biden's doing fine. Is this a reflection of what we've learned about COVID, that it's not actually that terminal of a virus and like 99.9% of people actually survive it? And is that really what the reaction is? Or is it just that the Democrats want to downplay anyone that is fully vaccinated and boosted that contracts the virus, but then they want to make a total outrage and super spreader event and all of that when it concerns their political opponents? Well, I think it's kind of a combination of both. So Joe Biden, though, today marks the 1-year date from when he falsely told the American people that if you are vaccinated, you will not contract the virus. Watch this.
You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of ironic. It's the exact 1 year mark where Joe Biden told the American people that if you are vaccinated, you will not contract the virus. And lo and behold, Joe Biden's vaccinated, fully boosted, and he contracted the virus. But yesterday, he told us something else. So, watch this.
Off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't, for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
All right, I was totally confused when he said that he has cancer because that was a present tense statement. The press secretary and the White House then had to walk it back and issue a comment clarifying his statements, saying that Joe Biden doesn't currently have cancer. He had cancer in the past, and that's what he was referencing. So there's a lot of speculation today saying, does he still have cancer? Does he know whether or not he has cancer? Do we even know the current status of his health? Did he mean to say COVID yesterday when he was talking about cancer? Nobody really knows. And the problem with all of this, of course, is that nobody trusts that Joe Biden knows what he's saying or what he's actually thinking, because he clearly has mental issues. He looks like he is in not just the early stages, but potentially advanced stages of dementia. And so when the White House has to go back and clarify all of his remarks and his gaffes, this becomes really unsettling for the American people. So at what point is the cabinet going to actually invoke the 25th Amendment and say, listen, if we, the American people, don't even know and we're just laughing off that the President of the United States happens to say he currently has cancer when it was past tense, and that an 80-year-old elderly president has COVID and he's fully vaccinated and boosted, and we're just supposed to laugh that off too? I mean, this is where it's so frustrating for all of us to watch how the Democrats manipulate the narrative, and they only care about issues and think that they're so severe when it works to their political advantage. And then when the exact same thing happens to them, or they're doing the exact same thing, or they're doing what they claim their political opponents are doing when they aren't, none of that matters to them. Nobody cares. Nobody is covering it. So even though this was trending on Twitter, and my favorite thing was from Jimmy Falea, who said, on the positive side, this is the one thing in Joe Biden's presidency that's actually a positive result. I thought that was hilarious. And of course, the jokes are flying. But, even though this trended on Twitter, nobody really cares. And yet, there was an article just released today that the Washington, D.C. school districts are still mandating the vaccine for students aged 12 and older to attend D.C. public, parochial, or even private schools. Why would they require a vaccine when clearly, empirically, we all know now that this is absolutely stupid? It's not going to prevent anyone from contracting the virus. It may, and some people have suggested, and I don't know their health records, I'm not a doctor, they have suggested that getting the vaccine has minimized their symptoms. Well, we know from studies that the virus does not affect children at all. And they are the first to recover, have very mild symptoms, and yet the vaccine has proven to have very damaging side effects. So, why would a Washington, D.C. school district mandate and compel a vaccine for children who are the least at risk from fatality or major impact from a virus? And yet, studies have shown that the vaccine is incredibly dangerous for children. That also begs the question, why is this still allowed? And so, a lot of you are probably wondering, wait a second, didn't we already litigate over this? And can't the government not compel anyone to get the vaccine? Well, what happened at the Supreme Court was on the OSHA mandate that dealt specifically with businesses with employees that numbered over 100. And so in that instance, the Supreme Court rightly held that Congress did not give the federal executive branch by statute under the health, safety, and control measures for workplace safety and occupational safety any sort of ability to coerce or compel a vaccine in the workplace, like that and under all circumstances. So the Biden OSHA mandate was deemed not statutorily viable, but that did not have any bearing on a local school district or a local state authority saying that they are going to impose, for example, mask mandates on children or vaccine mandates. So some of these things are still being litigated. They're still working their way through the courts. And this is exactly why we need to keep ever vigilant to make sure that we haven't said, okay, the Supreme Court issued one ruling, this issue is done, and we're all good to go. No, because children right now in Washington, D.C. and other places around the country are still dealing with this issue. And this is also why so many parents are choosing to take their kids out of public schools, and even in Washington, D.C., out of these private and parochial schools to homeschool, so that they are not forced to comply with these ridiculous requirements. These types of lawsuits still need to be moving forward. And, just a couple of weeks ago in the state of Pennsylvania, where everyone in Pennsylvania should be voting for Doug Mastriano for governor against the ridiculous, insane Democrat who is running, that Democrat is currently the attorney general of the state. And he just signed on to a brief that the Health and Human Services providers want to reimpose and continue to impose a mask requirement for school children K through 12. And he is agreeing with that. These are how insane the Democrats are behaving when there is no empirical evidence to suggest that COVID is a bigger risk than any other seasonal flu or virus, or that the vaccine should in any way be compelled. If anyone wants to take it, it's available. That's your choice. But it needs to be your choice in consultation with your own doctor to make the best decision for yourself and your family. This should not be up to the government to forcibly mask or vaccinate anyone, especially children. This makes absolutely no sense. So we will see what happens with Joe Biden and how his health is going. Of course, he released a picture today that the left is just, fawning over, of him sitting at a desk. And I'm wondering, well, who took the picture and why aren't we concerned about that? Because when President Trump released a picture from Walter Reed, everyone suggested that that was so reckless. He shouldn't be working. But of course, the hypocrisy persists and Joe Biden continues to work. So I do wish best health to Joe Biden. Of course, we need to be praying for our leaders. We can point out their hypocrisy, say that absolutely not, that they should not compel vaccines. We can say clearly the vaccines don't work in the way that Joe Biden falsely suggested to the American people. But at the end of the day, we are still told in scripture to be praying for our leaders. And so I do pray for Joe Biden, for his recovery. And I do pray that his cabinet around him would see that it's not just because of COVID. Everything else, no one has ever said that Joe Biden is the beacon of health. And there are some very serious mental health and mental issues that make him, in my view, unfit to be the commander in chief. And I really pray for his cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment and to say that he is unfit to continue his duties as president. And, I know that means that we'll end up with Kamala Harris, but, that's the way the presidential line of succession goes. And I hope that we would still, as a country, require that we follow our rule of law, regardless of, what stupid cackling idiot they decided to install as vice president. And so we need to continue to be looking to the 25th Amendment. We need to continue to pray for our country, pray for our leaders. And we also should be hoping and praying and openly requiring the Republican majority, if they retake the House in November, to impeach Joe Biden and his administration for everything that they have done intentionally against the United States Constitution, against their oath of office, and against the rule of law. So Project Veritas is going to join me right after this. Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis, and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble, and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903. Well, every so often, we like to update you on what's going on with Project Veritas and their attempts to bring truth and fact to the world of journalism and actual investigative reporting. And several lawsuits have been going on against other entities that have actually blamed Project Veritas for things that are factually inaccurate. So joining me now is RC Maxwell, who is the spokesperson for Project Veritas. Thanks so much, RC, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so there is a new appeal from Project Veritas against CNN that is now going to the 11th Circuit. Give us again the kind of the factual background of what's going on and what stage we're at in the proceedings.
Well, the factual background is this, Jenna. Project Veritas was banned on Twitter for inadvertently, mistakenly failing to blur a lamppost during an investigation that we published into Facebook. CNN is well aware of the facts in this situation. They reported the facts correctly. At least CNN Business's Brian Fung did when he reached out to Twitter for comment and reported that we were banned for inadvertently posting an address. Now, CNN has done this. They're not blameless in these sorts of acts of journalism. However, on air, one of their anchors, aided by Brian Stelter, said we were banned for misinformation. Lo and behold, that CNN misreported the facts. Now, at Project Veritas, we're not vultures. We simply asked CNN to correct their report and state the facts. And they didn't want to, Jenna. Now, their motives for that may be sinister, so we took them to court. Now, a judge actually agreed with Project Veritas that CNN misreported the facts. Now, unfortunately, this judge used flawed case law and said that, whether or not Project Veritas reported the truth, aka posted someone's address, or if they were banned for misinformation, those two things were one and the same. They hurt a journalist's reputation, and therefore our claims are not actionable. We disagree with that, and we're taking CNN to the 11th Circuit because we feel that legally, as our lawyers argued, a judge should not be comparing harm during this stage of a trial. And that's something for the jury to decide. And we think the facts are on our side. We think Neil Gorsuch even has argued similar facts in his writings in legal cases. So we're taking CNN to the 11th Circuit. We feel that this is good news, that the judge agrees that CNN misreported the facts, and we're going to continue to fight this cause.
Yeah, and it seems to me from a legal perspective that making a factually false statement is not the same thing as saying that you were banned for misinformation. And so, this type of comparison is really interesting, and it seems like there may be something more politically motivated going on. And like your attorneys argued in their opening brief, it is a fundamental right of journalists and of, really any entity to be able to protect their good name in public. And that's exactly what CNN has gone after, to just try to not only smear Project Veritas, but also these news outlets that, I mean, if we can even call CNN news, but they're trying to say that Project Veritas isn't even a journalist outlet. And that's just patently ridiculous. And so what are you seeking as a result from this type of lawsuit? I know that, in suing the New York Times and others, we've had, Jared Eade on previously, James O'Keefe, and to say that, Project Veritas is wanting to make sure that accurate reporting always gets out to the public. So what are you specifically looking for in this case?
Correct, Jenna. We want to make that exact line something that's a reality. And in order to make that happen, we have to seek justice legally. Many viewers may not know the implications of New York Times versus Sullivan, but that was a landmark case that essentially held that First Amendment protections supersede the right for figures to protect their name as far as defamation goes. And Neil Gorsuch talked about, as James O'Keefe quoted in American Muckraker, that this has actually left millions of Americans defamed without redress or course of action to handle this. And like you alluded to, CNN is well aware that to say that we are to malign us for making a mistake and posting an address is one thing. By the way, CNN's done this countless times. They did this in 2018 with an elderly woman in Florida, posted her address. They also did this recently with Neil Gorsuch, no, excuse me, Brett Kavanaugh, posting his address outside of his house. It's a different thing to call us a liar versus to say we made a mistake. As Viva Frey, the Canadian YouTuber who covers legal matters, said, one thing makes you an a-hole, the other thing makes you a liar. And as a journalist, your credibility is all that you have. So CNN knows they made a mistake, and instead of correcting the mistake, they want to continue with the lie. And we think that that there will be a reprimand from this legally, and we're happy to continue to take it all the way because we know most Americans, they can't pay the money for this. So this is one thing that we feel is crucial to the fabric of our country, the facts and truth and reporting, and we're going to continue to fighting for that accuracy.
Yeah, and it's so hypocritical, really, of CNN that they're blaming you for a mistake, and yet they're not willing to correct their own mistake, and saying that you put out misinformation when it was clearly not misinformation. It was just a mistake to not blur out the address, but the address itself is what it is. And so, this just seems like another instance of how the mainstream media and CNN and others like them, these left leaning propaganda networks, always get away with saying and doing whatever they want and maligning the conservative or even just middle of the road truth seekers like Project Veritas without any legal repercussions or accountability whatsoever. And so these lawsuits, in my view, are very important because the Supreme Court needs to clarify for these public figures what really is the line between malice, actual malice, versus just flat out defamation that needs to be corrected, so that these types of mainstream media organizations can't just get away with saying virtually whatever they want to without penalty when they know that it's false at the time that they say it. Because one of the things that your attorneys also highlighted in their appellate court brief is that this host on CNN absolutely knew that it was false at the time that she made the statement. And if there are no legal repercussions and they're not compelled to then go back and issue a correction, then that will just encourage more outlets like CNN to continue to make these knowingly false and defamatory statements without any fear whatsoever of being held to accountability. So I really hope that you do succeed on this, and we'll be following all these cases. And I love Viva Frey, by the way. He's one of my really good friends. Love all of his analysis, Viva and Barnes. So what else is going on in Project Veritas with all of your truth seekers and all of these bombshell reports that we've been seeing from big tech to the mainstream media networks? What are some of the latest videos that people can check out?
Well, most recently, I was involved in an investigation into a South Carolina senator. In fact, if I recall correctly, she threw in a dig at you when she was pressed by the South Carolina media on the illegal acts she was talking about within her Democratic campaign. So keep your eye out for more of those interesting tidbits. This is election season. This is the time of year where people running for office will say one thing and behind the doors say another thing. And when that happens, Project Veritas is usually there to catch that. And if we're not, we're hoping the people who can catch that sends us those tips at veritastips@protonmail.com.
Yeah, and that video that you're referencing, that South Carolina senator, I didn't even know her. She's a state level senator, but she apparently didn't know that jail calls are recorded, and she made all of these different statements about how she wanted to have crack money delivered to her in duffel bags for her
That's
campaign. I
correct.
mean, all kinds of crazy stuff. And so, as one of the people who I'm very happy to help amplify the work of Project Veritas, I simply retweeted this video like going, this is really crazy. People need to look at this. And then somehow when she was asked by a local news organization about it, she then goes and calls me out simply for tweeting the video that she basically in the same interview admitted that it was true, but she's just trying to malign political opponents. And the Democrats think they can get away with whatever they prefer, again, without accountability, kind of like CNN. So the work that you're doing at Project Veritas is incredibly important, RC, and I really appreciate it. So again, where can people find this? How can they follow you, since obviously still suspended on Twitter, which I think is ridiculous, but hopefully some of these other lawsuits will prevail. So how can people find you and support you?
Yes, we're still banned on Twitter, even though we trend there. But people can follow us on Telegram. Project Veritas is on Telegram, also on Instagram. And of course, you can go directly to our website, projectveritas.com, and we post all of our most recent investigation. And we have a litany of resources for individuals who may be wanting to be a truth seeker themselves.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And when you trend on Twitter, even when you're banned, all of the great Americans do, like Project Veritas, Donald Trump, everybody. So it's great, and you're in good company. But thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. Really appreciate you joining, and best of luck on the lawsuits. And we'll look forward to getting an update soon.
Of course. Thank you.
MyPillow is having their biggest sheet sale of the year. You all have helped build MyPillow into the amazing company that it is today. Now, Mike Lindell, the inventor and CEO, wants to give back exclusively to you, his listeners. The Percale bed sheet set is available in a variety of colors and sizes, and they are all on sale. So, for example, the queen size is regularly priced at $89.98, but is now only $39.98 with our listener promo code Jenna, Jenna. So order now, because when they're gone, they're gone. The Percale bed sheets are breathable and have a cool and crisp feel. These come with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee, so don't miss out on this incredible offer. There's a limited supply, so be sure to order now. You can call 1-800-564-8475 and use the promo code Jenna, or go to mypillow.com/Jenna. You can click on the radio listeners square and use the promo code Jenna. That's Jenna. Thank you so much to all of Mike Lindell's listeners and listeners of this podcast for making sure to support MyPillow and using our exclusive listener promo code Jenna. That's Jenna.